The mid-1980s were an exciting period of growth for Brookhaven, with many new businesses coming to town. But a frightening outbreak of ghost sightings in late 1986 almost brought it all to a screeching halt. Ghosts were spotted all over Brookhaven, creating panic and giving the town a bad reputation. It was soon discovered the influx of paranormal activity was linked to the groundbreaking of the brand new Brookhaven Motel. As it turned out, the motel was being built on an ancient burial ground, and construction disturbed the resting place for dozens laid to rest there. Fortunately, a team of paranormal exterminators were able to eliminate the problem, allowing Brookhaven to resume its path of growth and expansion. Having a team of certified ghostbusters in town set everyone's mind at ease. Sadly, there was one very notable casualty. Mayor Herman Frankel was literally scared to death by a ghost, suffering a heart attack in Town Hall on December 13th, 1986. Mayor Frankel's death had long-lasting effects, plunging the town into decades of political peril and economic strife. Not to mention the occasional reemergence of disturbed spirits haunting the town to this day. In March of 1910, a luxurious yacht owned by prominent Robloxian railroad tycoon Henry Wadsworth set sail on Brook Sea, carrying 8 of Brookhaven's richest and most notable entrepreneurs and socialites, with Captain Archibald Bernard at the helm. As the passengers ate caviar and congratulated each other on their impressive wealth, they failed to realize the ship was headed straight for a giant iceberg. Captain Bernard did not have time to steer around the massive frozen formation before impact. And so at 12:07 a.m., the Brooktania struck the iceberg aft portside, creating a series of massive gouges above and below the waterline. As a result, the bulkheads inside the vessel began to fill with water, pitching the boat fully upright before the immense pressure on the keel caused it to violently slam back down and split in two. The waterlogged stern sank immediately, leaving the bow bobbing briefly before foundering as well to the bottom of the Brook Sea. As Captain Bernard went down with the ship, the other 8 passengers struggled to stay afloat in the freezing waters, eventually drowning and being declared lost at sea. Decades later, the final resting place of the Brooktania and its passengers was finally found, and artifacts from the wreckage are on display at the Brookhaven Art and History Museum. In the early 90s, grunge was all the rage, and so the sponsors of Brookfest 1992 were excited to get popular grunge band Ruby Marmalade to headline the event. Ticket sales were through the roof, and the venue was filled to capacity. In their intense fervor to enjoy the band, many concert goers began to participate in a violent manner of dancing known as moshing. As a result, patrons were pushed, shoved, knocked to the ground, where they were stomped on, jumped on, trampled on, with no one able to hear their cries over the awesome music. In total, 11 lives were lost that night in the mosh pit mayhem, and 5 more suffered severe injuries, prompting the town of Brookhaven to adopt a no mosh ordinance for concerts moving forward, a law that still stands today in honor of the 16 victims of the Grunge Festival of 1992. In 1948, the town of Brookhaven was emerging as an economic powerhouse, primarily thanks to Ska Industries, a world-renowned couch manufacturer. But all that would change one fateful spring day when a powerful and destructive earthquake hit, measuring a stunning 8.7 on the Richter scale. The damage was seen and felt citywide at homes, businesses, landmarks, and especially Ska Industries. 7 employees were lost that day, crushed by couches and impaled by fallen debris, suffering fatal injuries. The 4 who lived through the quake were trapped inside, unable to open the blocked exit door. Their loved ones waited 16 days until rescuers were able to clear the rubble, and 3 survivors emerged. The survivors never explained how they survived so long without food or what happened to 4th survivor Lewis. But the extreme damage to the building, inventory, and machinery resulted in the permanent shutdown of Ska Industries. The shutdown was a devastating blow to the Brookhaven economy, and the loss of 8 lives was a devastating blow to the Brookhaven community. During the late summer and early fall of 1977, Brookhaven experienced extreme drought, accumulating no rainfall for 2 full months. This was devastating for the large farming community as they could not sustain their crops. In order to support their families, farmers were forced to seek jobs in town that they were not at all qualified for. They worked as beauticians.
What? I just wanted a trim! Well, I shear you just like I do my sheep. I'll get to you next, hun.
Never mind. Daycare workers.
Go on, get your pen.
My what? Get me out of this thing.
Substitute teachers.
Forget math. I'm gonna teach you something real useful.
And even air traffic control dispatchers.
Reckon you're clear for takeoff. Whoopsie daisy.
Leaving chaos, confusion, and catastrophe in their wake. As a result, 12 humans and 7 pigs perished. Fortunately, the rain finally came and the farmers could get back to doing what they were born to do. But the economic ramifications and emotional scars of the farming famine of 1977 lingered for a long, long time. One rainy evening in October 1959, a slick stretch of road on the east side of town became the site of a colossal car accident. It all started when a semi-truck carrying radioactive waste lost control on the slick roadway and turned over, spilling 10,000 gallons of hazardous waste. Due to low visibility because of the heavy rain, drivers weren't aware of the situation until it was too late. The slick roads, made slicker by the spilled waste, became a veritable slip and slide for motorists as they skidded, flipped, and crashed, leaving a staggering 11 vehicles piled up in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, gallons of radioactive waste seeped into the town's water source. While 14 lives were lost on the scene of the collision, over time, dozens of health problems were indirectly linked to the crash as a result of the tainted water, making the true toll of this disaster immeasurable. In the summer of 1939, a serial killer struck the town. Darling, let's go to the picture show! Indeed, my dear. Stalking and attacking his victims in broad daylight. Oh, Ruth, have you heard that new radio program? Police named him the Mid-Afternoon Creeper. Ring-a-ding-ding, dame. Shake a leg and buy yourself a groovy new motor carriage. Throughout the month of June, he claimed 15 victims and set the town into a self-imposed lockdown. No one would leave their house for fear of the Mid-Afternoon Creeper. The lake, the pool, the beach, the ice cream parlor were all deserted. Not only was it detrimental to the mental health of the people of Brookhaven, it was detrimental to their economy. And then, in late August, a paperboy on his morning route was approached by the killer. Or so the killer thought. The paperboy was actually an undercover cop, posing as a paperboy to lure the Mid-Afternoon Creeper. It worked. The Mid-Afternoon Creeper was arrested and eventually sentenced to life in prison. Though the people of Brookhaven were relieved to finally leave their homes and enjoy the last bit of summer, they would never stop mourning the 15 lives lost to the Mid-Afternoon Creeper. As 1999 drew to a close, the people of Brookhaven were excited to enjoy a big celebration to ring in the year 2000. Many chose to party at Brookhaven's high-end Millennium Hotel, which planned to host a spectacular fireworks show at midnight. At approximately 5 p.m., Tyler, the fireworks guy, stored the fireworks in the hotel basement before heading upstairs to join the festivities. As midnight drew near, the excitement grew, and so did heat from Tyler's nickel-cadmium flip phone, overheating, catching fire, and igniting 500 fireworks simultaneously. Flames immediately engulfed the elevator shaft as the out-of-control blaze, growing faster by the second, swept through the hotel. Since the elevator was the only way out, everyone in the hotel was trapped in the thick smoke and growing fire. Firefighters rushed to the scene, but the inferno was out of control. Only one person was rescued. The hotel itself was completely destroyed, requiring a full rebuild. But the loss of the building was nothing compared to the loss of life that New Year's Eve night. 27 guests and 4 hotel employees perished in the Millennium Hotel, marking a tragic start to the year 2000. In the 1960s, Brookhaven had big plans to put a giant mall on Cherry Road. Construction began in 1961, but the project was halted when multiple workers sustained serious injuries, resulting in messy lawsuits. Developers tried again in 1963, but a catastrophic fire destroyed the structure. In 1965, a new contractor took over and the project progressed. Until not just one, but two airplanes crashed on the site. They tried again in 1967, but a string of protests and riots made it impossible to complete the project. A final attempt was made in 1969, but after a huge flood derailed all progress, Brookhaven City Council ruled the land cursed. They retracted building permits and rezoned the land, barring any future construction. Aside from the 37 souls lost on board the crashed planes, countless other lives were affected, with investors falling into financial ruin, contractors going out of business, and Brookhaven itself plunging into debt that would take decades to pay. And an alleged curse that would live on forever. April 1922. A series of large and powerful tornadoes were headed straight for Brookhaven, causing residents to panic. Some tried to drive away. Some were frozen in fear. Some were overcome with panic. But they all were fighting for their lives. Within moments, the tornado hit, easily tossing around cars. And ripping apart houses. The town was destroyed. Every business, every home, and every person. Everyone in the path of the terrible twister of 22 was gone. The entire population wiped out, except for 3. Walter, Florence, and Charlie Brooks were on vacation when the tornado hit. They returned home, shocked, to find utter destruction. Devastated, they vowed then and there to help rebuild Brookhaven and always work to keep it safe, in honor of all the lives lost.